we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with
All
it.
right, welcome to episode 135 of The Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unchecked threat to society. It is Friday. It is Thirsty Friday, mang. And dude, there's a lot to laugh about this week, man. I did just see, on a not funny note, I did just see a couple of these nogs that were on the hook or convicted or whatever of killing white people, white kids or white women, just getting kind of cut loose, it appears. And I can't completely tell if this is rage bait or if they're like getting cut loose or not fit for trial, or you're just going to sit in a loony bin for the rest of your life and get beat up by, what do you call them, orderlies? I don't have any idea. It's, it's all very possible that it's just something to piss you off. But I did see a little more like this, that shit's, it is what it is. I'll wait for something definitive. But something that I did see that I thought was pretty hilarious, man. This Pete Hegseth thing, dude, I can't laugh enough about this shit. That guy kind of sucks so bad. And I've seen a few different takes. Like, one, I don't have any respect for this dude. This guy's kind of a fucking slipknot. Very obviously, you're a fucking good guy. You're going to do and say what you're fucking told. He's a fucking Fox News host. He's not even a real person. He's got his fucking slick back, made-for-TV haircut. And this shit, like, I really thought that, and they still may have, I don't know. I thought that he was getting all these generals together for like, all right, look, shitheads, we're going to have to do some shit to talk these motherfuckers into going to war for us, and it's going to be on us yet again to pull this economy out because it is fucked, so I need a war. Somebody give me some fucking ideas. And I thought that would be the extent of it. It doesn't appear at this point, it doesn't seem like that's what went on. At least that's not what they're saying anyway. What they are saying is like they, got all these generals and admirals together and we're going to straighten motherfuckers out talking about grooming standards and fitness standards. And I'm like, dude, fuck off. This is a fucking joke as it is. And I guess I don't mean to completely belabor the military tip too much, but that's, it's kind of what I know and what what I grew up dealing with. So shit like this, I see it, man, and it spins me up a little bit. But I think it's pretty easy to appreciate the jackassery of it all. And it comes in layers. There's layers to it, layers to this ass banditry. So, like straight away, dude, as it is, you got, your physical fitness standards and your grooming standards in this, and you would think that, like, for whatever you think of it, which I have my own opinions, but for whatever you think of it, you would imagine that it's the military, that it's one size fits all, that like, all right, fuck stick, if you're going to be in this military, this is how it's going to be. This is the standard you'll hold yourself to. This is the haircut you'll have. This is the way it fucking is, all right? Fucking do as you're told. You would think this. And if you think this, you would be wrong. So it's very much exactly like you would expect at any fucking office drone type job. And what's worse is that it's a job where you're basically property. You do whatever they fucking tell you to do. Like, hey, today you're a guy who moves sandbags. Go move fucking sandbags. And it's like, well, fuck, all right, I guess this is my life now. The Nogs are going to get their little fucking program. Women are going to get their little program. Minorities are going to get their program. The special kids and the rich kids, they're going to get their program. And you, white man, you're going to get to go fill that fucking sandbag or lift that heavy shit or stay out here in the middle of the fucking night or the rain and do whatever you're told to do. That's how it's going to be. And it's it really spins you up because, I mean, this seriously took me about a few weeks. You know, I was around for a few weeks and I was pissed. Like brand new fucking guy, zero fucking experience anywhere, and it took me fucking literal minutes to figure out, like, this is fucking bullshit. I see what's going on here. So kind of the way this breaks down is each service is a little bit different in terms of, like, this is what your haircut should look like. This is what your uniform should look like. This is your fitness expectations in this. And it will vary, you know, according to jobs. So the special operations scene, like, you will be in fucking shape. This is the news. And they'll tell you that, like, look, you're supposed to be an example. You're supposed to be what other people aspire to. So they're going to break your nuts about your appearance. When you get downrange, they're going to let you slip and slide a little bit in terms of, you know, maybe your haircut or your shaving or this. But when you're around, where you're in town, back stateside or whatever, where people can see you, they expect solid haircuts, constantly shaved and looking good, and your uniform looking fucking sharp, not some fucking slipknot walking around all sloppy. And you would think, like, you would really think that it's a fucking uniform. How hard is it? You know, like, you don't really have to. I mean, you could show up, get the shit that fits. You get the same size every time. Wash the shit, iron the shit, put the shit on. You're going to look the same. Somehow, dude, blacks will still make this shit look like a prison uniform. They'll get a size too big. They'll walk around looking like they're dressed up in their dad's clothes or some shit, you know, and maybe that's some kind of subconscious thing, whereas, like, you didn't have a dad, so now you're pretending you found his uniform or some shit, you know. So they're walking around in this shit, sloppy, a hat that's fucking several sizes too big, sitting all cockeyed on their fucking head. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? And it'll always be some fucking story. I tries my hardest and shit. It's always a fucking story. The fucking fat asses. I mean, you know, within the community, you know, you'll just get called out. Like, I actually saw one dude that was in charge. Like, usually it's the way you would think, where, like, a CEO of a company isn't going to go directly to a guy and call a guy out. But this community is not such the case. And I actually saw one dude, like, from the boss in front of everybody. Like, what's your fucking problem? Fix yourself, you fat fuck. Ooh, and nobody says a fucking word, and just like, yes, sir. Like, that's the end of it. But the rest of the military, man, I mean, I have seen shit that you will lose sleep over. I mean, just the biggest pants you can get stretched to their absolute limit. Like, just obese, sloppy, fat, fuck, disgusting. Like, what in the wide world of sports is fucking wrong with you? Don't fucking hand me, like, it's my thyroid, it's not my fault. Fuck you, dude. I've been in that fucking chow hall. I see how readily available those pastries are. And they're not even good. That's the pisser of it, man. Like, you see it and you're like, oh, I could go for a pastry. Why? It tastes like shit. And now you just gutted down like a whole shit ton of calories. And if you work in one of these fucking sit-down jobs, you're just going to become a fat fucking slob. And it's fucking filth, man. It's disgusting. So you see these fucks, and you just know, you fucking know, this bitch can't walk a mile, let alone run a fucking mile. This bitch can't move across the street if she fucking has to do it at an expeditious pace. So you see this shit, and you're like, how the fuck is this happening? You would be goddamn astonished. Like, the shit that you see where they're talking about, you know, sexual harassment panda in this, and, like, you know, don't do it, and, like, hey, I could sort you out with, I can get you the free pass on this fitness standards thing if you just give me a little sucky, you know, and you're like, who the fuck? What are you talking about? This doesn't happen. It does. I've fucking seen this crazy shit where you're like, really? Like, bro, you're saying this? And it's like, well, yeah, I'm saying it. Why? Because it fucking works. Because they'll fucking do it. They're like, I want to be able to just eat all these pastries I want. I got to fucking take one shot in the mouth and I can be as fat as I want. Okay. And they'll fucking do it. And somebody will pencil whip their little standards and that'll be the end of it. And you're like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Some of the other highlights, man, the coloreds with their fucking shave profiles, man. So you'll see this shit. Like the crazy shit is like in the Marine Corps, you won't see black dudes who get the bumps on their shit. I get the bumps on my shit, Sard. I can't shave, you know. I got to get a profile, you know. So what they'll do is they'll just go in there and they'll fucking dry shave and they'll chew the shit out of their face. So now they walk into medical and they're like, oh, my face, you know, I try to shave and shit, but, you know, it fucked me up. You know, I got to get sign off medical waiver, you know, so I have to shave, you know. But, like, in the Marine Corps, you'll never see this. Because those motherfuckers, it's like a fucking cult, dude. And those motherfuckers will toe the line. So, like, somehow a black dude joins the Marine Corps, and now it's like, well, suddenly you don't get the bumps on your shit. But everywhere else in the military is like, oh, you know how it is, you know, it's just how it be like and shit. You know, like my father, you know, he had that shit. Now I know you're lying because I know you don't have a fucking dad, right? But they'll pull this shit, man. So now you've got this African, and he's got like a 2 or 3 day beard, and his uniform is like a size too big. Obviously, it's not fucking ironed. He's got a hat that doesn't fit, and even if it did, it's sitting crooked on his fucking head. The fucking, haircut fucking deal, like the haircut standards, again, every service is a little bit different, but they all have regulations in terms of how long can your sideburns be, what they call like the bulk, like the thickness, like if you put your finger in there, you know, like the rule of thumb is like, I think it's like an ID card. So, like, if you take, like, an ID card sideways and you set it on somebody's head, the hair shouldn't be protruding beyond that. But now you've also got, like, the little bit of slippage. So, it might not be right at, you know, that length, but it's going to be slightly more. And is this really something that you want to get hassled over in terms of, you know, my fucking race card? So most people are just like, just fuck it. Just let it fucking lie. When you start looking at women, then it becomes even more ludicrous. Jesus Christ, dude. Dude, there is some fucking bitch driving in front of me in a fucking golf cart. I hate that shit so much. Oh, God. Anyway. So when you start talking about women, now you have the added bullshit thrown in of what kind of earrings, what kind of makeup, how long can your fake eyelashes be, how neon green can your fingernails be. You'd start talking about hair, and now it's the same shit of it can be so thick, hang so long, and the fucking rules on this, like, fuck off. Like, you're not going to tell some Shaniqua what she can and can't have on her fucking head. So this bitch is in here looking like, you know, like they work at the DMV. They got the neon green fucking nails. They got thick-ass fucking fro. They'll just kind of prop a hat up there. Like, there you go. I'm wearing my hat. It's okay. So it's a complete fucking joke, man. But now here's fucking Pete Hegseth out here snapping his fucking fingers talking about we're going to fucking adhere to standards out here. We're going to look professional. Like, fuck off, dude. And probably the cherry on top, the funniest fucking part of this is that you would think, right? You would think that you're getting in here with these fucking military professionals and you're snapping your fingers at them and they're like, this fucking asshole, and just zero respect. You would think this, right? But the comic part of this is that you did not get to that rank by being a fucking stand-up, hard-ass, go-to-war motherfucker. You got to that rank by sucking fucking dick. You got to that rank by saying, I will do and say and implement whatever the fuck you want. As long as I get that next fucking rank, I will be your guy. I will fucking tap dance. I will promote Africans. I will promote fat women. I will force everybody at gunpoint to play make-believe on this equality trip that, oh, yeah, she's just as capable as I am. Well, obviously, she should get the same pay I get. I mean, right, she's doing the same job, isn't she? And Tyrone there, why, look at him. We should give him an award. We should recognize him. His picture should be in the lobby there with his ill-fitting uniform. He is something to aspire to, this fella. He's amazing. I wish he was my son. I hope he impregnates my wife and I can have his little Cheerio baby, and someday my kid will have his shit together and be the exemplary military personnel like this asshole. They will fucking do it, and they do it, and you have to go sit there and play make-believe, and, oh, yeah, I'm fucking diversity. Yeah, I mean, these people, they're fucking something else. They really have it together. You gotta fucking do it. You are fucking forced. It's an order, a lawful order. And you could say, oh, no, that's not a lawful order. A lawful order, again, like that, what is that shit? Like that admiralty law or what, this kind of shit. Dude, the fucking law is whatever the fuck they say it is. So you can fucking be a smart fuck if you want and be like, that's not a lawful order. Dude, you will be a miserable son of a bitch if you try to go down that road. I would never recommend that. So you got this whole room full of assholes. And now you got fucking Mr. Make-Believe fucking guy up there with his fucking nice trimmed up haircut talking about, all right, dickheads, here's how we're going to do it. And you brought this on yourself, General. You did it to yourself, Admiral. This is what you fucking signed up for. You chugged every fucking inch of cock necessary to get that fucking rank, to get a little flag that's yours and yours alone. So you can embrace every fucking second of that bullshit, man. This is yours to fucking enjoy. So that's kind of what I thought was, I guess, a little bit hilarious about this whole thing, was that you assholes deserve each other. You can get fucked. So the other thing I wanted to hit on real quick that just reminded me of it too, man, was I saw in the chat, dude, some of the, and I can't remember the name of this shit, man. The Sovereign Citizen. That's what it is. The Sovereign Citizen shit with like the admiralty or admiralty, whatever it is, law of like, you put my birth certificate in capital letters because you believe that you own me as an entity, and I will get it in lowercase letters, and I am a person, a free man traveling the land. And dude, I cannot remember. Oh, it's called Sovereign. Yes, Sovereign Citizen. Yeah. There's a movie called Sovereign, and I watched it a few months ago now. I did a short fucking episode on it. But it's just reminded me of it today, man. I saw some cats talking about it, and that it cracks me up, dude, every time I see it. And I feel bad, dude, because, I think that there's white people that have been led to believe that there are rules, that things operate according to rules, hard and fast rules that apply to everyone. But just like this military thing with fucking Hegseth, what you figure out eventually, the hard way or the easy way, is that not all rules apply to all people and never in the same equal kind of way. And this sovereign thing, this thing with like Sovereign Citizen, where it's like, bro, there's a pathway for you to live your fucking life unmolested, to not get fucked with, to not get broken in half on taxes. There's a way to do that. There are rules that allow you to do it. You just have to know the way to get from here to there. And the rough truth of it, man, is that it's like, even if there is technically a legal pathway, like there's something you didn't mention when you wrote these laws, and I have recognized it, it don't fucking matter, dude. It don't fucking matter. You're going to pay these taxes. You're going to do this shit, or they're going to show up and break you the fucking half. When I very first started ever learning about currency and the way currency works and the way a central banking system works, essentially like the fractional reserve lending concept, which, by way of quick review, I'm not going to fucking drag this out, but like the idea of fractional reserve lending is you would take, in ancient times, whatever, you would take your gold, your silver, whatever, you would take it to the blacksmith who would have the strongest safe. You would entrust him to hold it. And then when you wanted to buy or sell something, conceptually, you would take out that gold or silver, give it to whoever you're going to buy or sell from, and then they would probably take it right back to the same fucking guy and ask him to hold on to it. So it's like the same gold in the same safe. It's just moving between people. So instead of that, they would just get a note from the smith or from the banker as this progressed. And then they would just trade these notes instead, these bank notes. What these bankers started figuring out eventually, these slick fucks, was that not all people are going to ever even see this fucking gold that they own. Like, most of the time, they're never going to even lay eyes on it. You could buy and sell and trade and all this shit just purely off of these banknotes. So what these people start doing instead is like, yeah, I'll just issue you a fucking banknote, man, and like you can pay me. Because, maybe conceptually it's like, yeah, I'll hold on to your, I don't know, 100 pieces of silver, or as you bring it in, whatever. But for this service, I'm going to charge you like one piece of silver a year, whatever. And now as you're doing that for a bunch of people over several years, you've got your own silver that's just sitting in the bank. So you could say theoretically, like, well, yeah, I'll loan you. Here's a banknote that's written out based on my silver that I own that's in my vault here where I keep yours and everybody else's gold and silver. You can see where the slippage would happen here, where it's like, yeah, I write out a note that's connected to mine, and pretty soon I'm writing out notes connected to not fucking anything. So this is called fractional reserve lending, where the lending that's out there, the banknotes that are out there, exceeds the number of, the amount of gold or silver or value that is held by the bank at any given time. So what this long and short, and I can't remember the name of this book, man. I'll have to find it, dude. I have it somewhere and I'll post it up. It's a long fucking book, but it really breaks this shit down. But the idea essentially was that at some point in the last, I want to say like 50 years, there was a dude who went to court saying that, hey, I shouldn't have to pay my mortgage because the money that these guys lent me was money that they just invented out of nowhere. So how can I owe a guy something plus interest based on something he just imaginified, right? Some shit, some currency that's not even real. You're asking me to, like, why can I not just imagine some fucking currency? And there, I imagined it. Here, take it back. Why can I not do that? And according to this book anyway, the judge says, well, yeah, technically you're right, but I can't rule in your favor because if I did, it would essentially collapse the entire economic system of the country because all of our money is based on imagination, right? None of this shit is real. It's not based on anything. It's just based on some bankers saying like, yeah, I'll fucking loan you money. I don't give a shit. I'll loan you what I decide is here's value, and I give you value. Here, that's it. So that's where we're at on this. Like, if you come with this idea that, like, oh, yeah, bro, but I found a fucking way. Bro, even if you did, it doesn't matter. And that's kind of the takeaway, is that whatever fucking rules these fucks come up with, the guy with the gun gets to make the rules. It doesn't matter if you think they're right, wrong, or what the fuck ever. You still got to fucking deal with it. Apart from that, man, oh, yeah, that was another thing that I wanted to hit on was, who was it, man? Oh, Marcus. It was Marcus was mentioning something about buying a rifle that had like some camouflage print or some such already on it. And I was like, bro, no, don't do that. And I'll tell you what, to me anyway, I like painting my fucking guns. I've talked to some dudes that were, and I guess you would call conventional units. Like, they have this feel that like, bro, I just fucking can't. I talked to a guy that had been out like a long fucking time, a very, very long time. And he was like, bro, you got to show me how to do that, how to paint that. I'm like, it's not fucking hard. But I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking show you. So I hit him up one day. I was like, hey, I'm going to do this other rifle. If you want to bring your shit over, I'll show you. And you can just use my paint. I don't give a fuck. And he's like, bro, I can't. It was just weird, bro. I know it's stupid, but like, I just feel weird. I'm like, I'm not asking you to suck me off, you fucking weirdo. Okay, don't. Fine. I don't care. Anyway, the kind of the trick to this, though, and this applies to any kind of camouflage, something that you can consider when you are coming up with the idea of camouflage. Like, two sides to this. One, camouflage we tend to think of in only half of the aspect. Camouflage is both concealing where something is, but it can also be presenting as where something is not. This was something that happened during World War II. And again, dude, like, I wish we were speaking German right now. That would be a lot better. But, we didn't. But at least there are some lessons we can take away here. There was one instance on one, and I don't remember where, coastline. I want to say it was on an island or some such. But what they did was they figured out a way to like string up lights, right? Where like a mile back from the coast, but in the same configuration as the coast. And then do like the blackout all along the coast so that when pilots are flying over, if they're flying at night, doing like night runs, and they look and see that like, oh, there's the coast. Okay, see the coastline. All right, I recognize it. And then they're dropping bombs. But when they drop bombs, now these bombs are just going into the fucking, jungle or the woods or not anything. You're not hitting anything. Like you're trying to hit ports and shit, and you think you see the lights, but those lights that you see are actually, way off of where the actual coast is. So that's one form of camouflage, that you are where you actually are not. This is something that you can do with social media, right? Like take your own name, all the details about yourself, like if you were going to get doxxed, but then stand that up like somewhere's fucking else, right? Like middle of buttfuck Nebraska. Like don't do this if you're actually in Nebraska. But I mean, stand this up like I'm looking fucking Coffee Long, that fucking asshole. I'll find him. Where is he? And here, Long, Coffee, one each. Like where is he located? Oh yeah, buttfuck Nebraska. All right, okay. You can steal pictures off of other people's profiles. Sometimes you might need to like, depending how in the weeds you want to get with this, but take pictures from other people's profiles and then just edit them so they're inverted, right? Not upside down, but I mean like left to right. So that if somebody takes a picture and they put it in like Google search, like image search, it's not going to spit out like, yeah, this is a stolen picture. Because that would be like a quick fix of like, yeah, this account's bullshit, like disregard. But if you put that there and you're like, yeah, here's a picture of, where I go to school. Here's a picture of my fake family. Here's all this shit, but it's somebody else's stuff and you just like flip it, like mirror image it. Then it's like, well, I don't see it coming up as from anywhere else. I have to assume it's genuine. And now you're appearing to be somewhere that you actually are not. You're leaving people to go and chase wild geese, what have you. Anyway, as it applies to like in the smaller sense, we're talking about camouflage, like in the physical sense. The things that give you away, that draw someone's eye to you, are things like movement, sound, shape, shine, and color. So we can't do a whole fuck of a lot about, sound or movement. Sometimes the color can help disguise the movement if it's similar color, similar pattern. Things like shine, things like color. These are shape, again, these are things that we can use the colors in camouflage to break up. So the way that we would do this is that when you look at any object, when you're a kid and you learn to draw something, you say, hey, draw this idiot's head over here. You draw a circle, right? And then you're like, here's a circle. It's the outside of his head. Here's the eyeballs. And now you're like, yeah, it's, good. That's Daddy, whatever, Or that's the mailman. It's Uncle Tom who comes to visit every time Dad's out of town for work. So you could do this, but, you start figuring out as you get older, you're like, this looks like shit, dude. I gotta learn how to do this better. When you get better at it, what you start to understand is that the way that your eye perceives things in a lot of ways is based on the shadow, the way the light bounces off of the thing and then hits your eyeball. So you could see like, oh, that over there is my beer, right? And you're recognizing that because of the way the light bounces off of it, and you see like high spots, low spots, the contour, and so on. So what you want to do when you're camouflaging something in a physical sense now, like you would with your own face or with your clothing, or in this case with your rifle, is you want to try to break up those low spots and those high spots because those are the things that someone can look at and say, oh, I see a rifle over there. The way you can do that then is in the low spots, these are going to be darker. So this is where you're going to put your lighter colors, right? So like the indented part. So on your face, this would be like under your nose, maybe the hollow part of your cheeks if you're not a fat fuck, under your chin if you're not a fat fuck or don't have a beard. Things like this. This is where you would put the lighter colors. The darker colors then, these would go on the parts that are sticking up, right? The parts that demonstrate like a relief, like a sticking out kind of a thing. These are going to reflect light in a way that's like, boing, like here, this is sticking out at you. But now on this, you're going to put the darker stuff, right? So there's two parts to this. Like, one, you don't want to do it like patchy, so it's just an opposite, like a negative image, because now it's better, but it's almost the same. Instead, you got to kind of stretch some of the dark spots. Like maybe if there's some high spot, maybe darken that and then stretch it across another dark spot that you filled in. If you've got a darker spot, like an indented spot, put the light in there, but then you can stretch that up and over some high spots. So it creates like false surfaces this way. Another thing that you can do, and the way that I do it on my rifles, is I'll just take like a piece of cardboard and just tear like a random ragged edge. And now when you spray this, like you're not just spraying like just straight across. You can hold that edge of that cardboard there and it'll create like its own edge now. So where you did have, you have like the edges of, say, the lower receiver, right, and the pieces that make up, like maybe like underneath the optic, or the pieces that make up, like here's the trigger or the buttstock or any of this. Like you see these high spots, these low spots. If you take this, like this chunk of cardboard, and you spray like crossways across some of these surfaces, now it's going to break up that picture. So when you just take a quick look at it, like if you were walking by and it's sitting in a bush, your eye's not going to recognize it like, high spot here, low spot there. Oh, this looks like a rifle to me. Instead, you're seeing like this ragged edge that's like, here's an indented spot going this way, and here's like a high spot that runs like so. This, I don't know what it is. It just looks random. It doesn't look like a rifle, right? And that's what you want. The other piece of this then is when you're picking out stuff to use, you can pick the high heat. Well, okay, before I get to that, an important thing here is to not get too in the weeds on like teeny tiny detail, because cats will be in there like, I'm painting flowers on this. Dude, if somebody's this close to see that, like, you're already compromised. What you want then is something that gives this effect from a good ways back, like as far back as someone might be seeing this from, like a good ways off. Also, lighter colors a lot of times are going to work a little bit better. The dark colors, it kind of draws your eye to it and like, what the fuck is that? It gives a more definite edge and draws your eye to it. So a lot of times lighter colors, it's going to work a little bit better. Like lighter than you might imagine. Not fucking white. Don't paint it white. But lighter than you might imagine for your colors is going to work well. So in selecting your paint then, there's, you go to a hardware store, you can get this high heat paint used for like barbecues or this kind of shit. You can get this, and you can also get it where it's like in a fucking matte color. And you can also get what I found, this real cool shit that's like for outdoor pottery type shit. So you get this high heat paint on here, and now you can get like this outdoor pottery type shit, and it'll have like different kind of tones in it, like little, almost like pebbles in it. And they're like different color, and it's got kind of a texture to it. So like this thing isn't reflecting shit. And you could like lay it in the sand and walk right by. You won't even fucking see it. It's pretty cool. As far as the heat aspect of this goes, you can actually shoot this shit for a good while. And what's cool is sometimes it'll discolor the paint a little bit, especially on paint that's not high heat. It'll discolor the paint a little bit. It makes it look kind of cool. And then sometimes some of the paint will like almost chip off just a little bit. It'll kind of damage the paint a little bit after you've had it like that for a while. And that actually looks like it looks even better. Like it makes it break up that silhouette even more. So it's pretty fucking cool. So anyway, that's my hot tip on painting your piece, and a few more thoughts on camouflage as it goes. So for now, I think let's take a break and let's get Marcus and his ass in here. And he's got something for us. Our man Marcus coming to you from the field. Once again, broke ass with no... Actually, no. Here's some fucking music. I'm going to get this shit together, ready, and go.
Lord Marcus, won't you join me for a refreshing cup of tea? So I wasn't sure if I should make this a tea time or, just leave a message for my buddies. Funny story about what's going on in my life. And I thought, I can feel this developing into, in a characteristic way, developing into larger social observations. So I decided I'd make it a tea time. And it begins with an apology. I was going to apologize, again, just to my friends for not being around much the past few weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, really 4 weeks. But I'm in fucking tax hell. It's a long story, but one of the companies I own, I haven't paid sales tax in 6 years. So needless to say, the IRS is deeply up my ass. And it really became time sensitive, and I had to resolve it. So many overnighters and a lot of help, and just really monomaniacal focus on this fucking accounting debacle, which began with that one company and then expanded into others. But fortunately, it's all looking pretty resolved. At this point, one final push and should be good. But that prompted me to reflect just on my own history and maybe offer some words, dare I say, of wisdom to assuage other men who might be stressed out about business or money or life or legal situations or society in general. And the reason I say that is people are very scared, generally, normies or, just guys, I guess. They're often very scared about like the IRS or the cops or any element of the bureaucracy, the government cracking down on them, and how horrible and stressful it is. Lawsuits, getting sued, getting divorced, all this shit. And I used to feel that way greatly. I used to stress out, this is 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I used to stress out about getting sued before I even got sued, or having really no indication I was going to get sued, or I'd stress out about, the cops coming to interrogate me. I've always lived very much in the gray zone in terms of legality, so I'd be stressed out. Oh, well, what if this happens? What if this person says this? And, I would stay up at night, freaking out about these things. And I remember the first time I actually, so that was in a different world, in a different life, a different history. About 10 years ago, I went into business for myself. And so that's, I guess, the world I live in now. And it was very shortly after that, probably the first year I went into business, that I got sued for the first time. And this thing fucking stressed me out to no end. I many sleepless nights. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to lose everything. The civil suit and this and that, the bankruptcy and everything I've worked for and yada, yada, yada. And now, fast forward 10 years later, it's like I'd say at any given moment, I myself am suing 3 to 5 people or entities and am myself being sued by another, 3 to 10 entities, right? I say me and people, but these are all just mostly legal entities, LLCs and different legal persons, not, Lord Marcus himself, although often that is the case. And it's like, you don't even worry about it. And I'll tell you, over the course of 10 years, and I don't know, call it 24 lawsuits coming at me and going out, I have never once, not once, seen a civil lawsuit, go to trial. Not once. In fact, I've never even seen one go to pretrial. Although it's looking like I've got one that may actually make it to pretrial. I'd even say 80% don't even make it to a hearing. They don't even make it to a hearing in front of a magistrate, or let alone a judge. I've seen a judge once in my life. I have seen a judge once in my life, and that's given my entire criminal history, civil history, divorce history, financial history, which is a very active component of my life. I've only ever once seen an actual judge. And this is over probably 60 different legal actions, right? And I don't even stress about it anymore. It's like, you actually, when you get deep enough into it, you really do see the civil law system as a resource. Because people inevitably will not see eye to eye on everything. So if you have a contract and you interpret it one way, and the other party of the contract says, well, that's not how I see it. Like, someone needs to resolve that, right? And say there's $10,000 on the line. Someone needs to decide, who's right and where does the money go? And when you start, actually see it that way, you want to take advantage of the legal system. Lawyers, really aren't that bad. A lot of, they can be, and they're just like any other small business owner. And that's primarily what lawyers are. They're not civil servants. They're not ideologues. They're not criminals. They're not sleazeballs. By and large, lawyers are simply business owners, right? And they want to make money with their services, and they'll cut deals, they'll barter, they'll negotiate. If it's something that's difficult with a lot of profit potential, they'll want to cut, just like any business owner, right? And that has been a realignment in my view of lawyers over the past 10 years. And as a result, I get along great with them because I'm a business owner too. It's just that I don't sell my legal expertise or representation. I sell other stuff, but it's the same concept. And most lawyers do have this entrepreneurial spirit. Again, these are lawyers that you and I would actually use, not big corporate lawyers. That's kind of a different game. But you actually see the legal system as a resource, and it's not at all stressful. And the reason I went off on that tangent is because the IRS. I remember the first time I got audited, which, by the way, is not even a big deal. I used to stress out about being audited, and people still stress out about being audited. It's such a nothing burger. You really have no idea. An audit is literally the IRS says, hey, you said this, this, and this, but we've looked into it and we think, you say A, B, and C, we've looked into it and we think X, Y, Z. And at that point, you take it to your accountant, and your accountant calls the IRS, and they do whatever they do. And, the IRS says, well, you owe us, $10,000. And of course, your accountant who's advocating on your behalf says, oh no, you say X, Y, Z, my client said ABC, that's totally right. Just kind of reinterpreted it. So it's actually, I don't know, EFG. And generally at that point, the IRS is like, okay, well, we'll take $5,000 instead of 10. And your accountant, says either, okay, sounds good, or no, actually $2,000's, more reasonable, and yada, yada. It's just a negotiation. And the first time I got audited, I was freaking out. And then I went through the process at that time without an accountant, and actually found it very, very civilized. I was surprised, and discovered there's nothing really to be afraid about, especially if you're committing like deep financial crimes, maybe there's something to be worried about. That's not me, but it's really not a big deal. So this whole thing now with the IRS up my ass, which by the way is pretty much entirely my fault. So what can I say? They're actually being very reasonable about it. And, it's taken a lot of work to cut through just the volume of fucking numbers and spreadsheets and fucking checklists and all this bullshit. Absolutely maddening, but a lot of all-nighters, and I wish I had some pans or chocolat to get through the grind. But it's really not that stressful. You just gotta understand power, and generally these government-backed institutions have the power, not you. Okay, you may want to have the power, but you don't, and that may offend you, and you may be right to be offended, but that's reality, and you have to accept it, or you can live in a delusion, and you will eventually end up in a jail cell or dead. Right? It is what it is. So these little anecdotes here, I guess a lot of people, including myself, for most of my life, really, a lot of guys, they're stressed out, they're afraid, they don't want to take risks because they see potential negative outcomes that in reality aren't going to happen. And even if you do take a risk and it's a complete failure, right? Bankruptcy, you're living with a friend, in a spare room or whatever. Even those situations really aren't that bad in retrospect. And you have to ask, there's some quote by a podcaster, I can't remember which one, I don't really listen to mainstream podcasters unless they're in clips. But the message was something like, people asked me when I was trying to come up, why do you do this? You have a 9 to 5, you get up at 3 in the morning and work out, and you do your little podcast, and then you have to work all day. You have 2 kids and a wife, and then you stay up and you do whatever training and more podcasting. Like, why do you do this? Like, what is so, where does your drive come from? Where is it so compelling? And he was like, I think about my life if I don't do it. And to me, that's so soul crushing that I would rather fail and start over than commit myself to that perpetual life, knowing that I wanted more. And maybe I didn't have it in me to achieve more, but just wanting more and not being able and not trying, it would be like Walking Dead. And that kind of encapsulates my personality. And I think a lot of people feel that way, but they don't really want to admit it. And I would just say, consider that some of the fears you have may not be as bad as you're imagining. Consider, even if the bad things happen that you're imagining, the outcome may not be as horrible in the long run as you're imagining. In fact, it may be preferable to the nominally better state that you currently have. And maybe go out on a limb, right? Try something, try that passion, try that side hustle. Maybe you have some expertise that you think could be profitable. It does take a lot of work and generally does not produce, profits for a long time. 2 years, 3 years is pretty average. You often lose money until then. But give it a shot, right? Now, all this pep talk and everything is well and good. It's kind of cheesy, but whatever, it is what it is. The real point I want to make here is about the organization of society and National Socialism, right? There's this concept, I think it goes across cultures. It certainly started in Aristotle, probably before that. I think it's kind of intuitive just to human beings in general. But there's this concept that, at least in European humans, maybe in other cultures, I don't know. I'm not other cultures. I'm not interested in other cultures. But among Europeans, there's this idea that whatever government, if you want to call it that, is in place, whatever power structure is in place, it should, to some extent, operate toward the common good. So it should advance the interests of everyone in that society over which the power structure has power, right? And what I don't like about democracy and about modern Americanism and everything is that it assumes that all of society, all people subject to the power, can share in a common good. And I don't think that's the case. I think historically in European cultures, I think just necessarily from the different abilities within classes of humans, different groups are going to have different common goods, right? So historically, this has been something approaching an aristocracy, something like a working class and or farming class, and then something like a ruling class. Often alongside those, kind of vertically, you have some sort of spiritual class, a priest class. Could be Christian, could be pagan, not particularly relevant. Could be nothing, could just be intellectuals, right? But people who don't really participate in society in the normal ways, in the practical ways, but more in the mental, spiritual, and thought ways, right? Ideological ways. So for all of European history, that was the, kind of organization of society. And it was to greater and lesser degrees acknowledged, and to greater and lesser degrees articulated that, well, the common good of the aristocracy is different than the common good of the farmers. And this can often, even though they are different, doesn't mean that they're at odds necessarily, but sometimes it will mean that they're at odds. And how do we sort of have a conflict resolution process for that, right? And when you look at National Socialism, SS, which began just as a security sort of detail, I guess, for Hitler, it gradually expanded up to the creation of the Waffen-SS as a means to create a new aristocracy, if you like, if you want to call it that, but a new class of European in society that had a different, timbre of common good than the working population, right? Call it nobility, aristocracy. I don't really think it had that sense of superiority in the sort of in a pejorative way. I think it acknowledged natural superiority, but not necessarily implying that those who did not share in that were anywhere, were lesser people. And the National Socialist worldview was geared at, first and above all, the common good of the worker, right? It's in the name of the party, National German Workers' Party. But it acknowledged that not all people were workers, right? So you had to take into account the common good of non-workers and apply that common good to the well-being of the state. That's where you kind of overlap a little bit with fascism and that other sort of non-racial authoritarianism.
And to be fair, you can even see this in non-authoritarian forms of government. Think, for instance, classic American republicanism, pre-Constitution America, right? The idea that, there are a bunch of these states, each one is going to guide itself for its own common good, and then they can unify on matters that transcend the capacity of any single state, right? National defense, manifest destiny, conquering the continent, right? Obviously, Virginia or Maryland alone is not going to be able to conquer North America, so there has to be some sort of cooperation, but by and large, each state is going to govern its own affairs for its own common good, right? You see this in all good forms of government. By the way, I'm not a fan of the Constitution, kind of a garbage document, in my opinion. Garbage political organization, Articles of Confederacy, or really any of the organizing documents prior to the Constitution, I think are much better. Pretty much irrelevant in 2025, but there's my opinion since I love to offer it. And at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, well, Marcus, what the fuck does any of that have to do with your sales tax and the fucking IRS? And my point is this, is that there will always exist in society a segment of men that have drive to impose order on the world, on themselves, on their family, on society. It could be on the globe, right? Think Alexander the Great. And what's best for them is not going to be the same as what's best for, say, the majority of white men who may feel this urge to impose order, but on a much smaller scale, right? In the Nazi Germany, this would have been, the working class. They obviously wanted a well-ordered family. They wanted to participate in a well-ordered state, but they didn't feel in the same way as the SS to go out and shape the destiny of the white race, and, impose rules on themselves, willingly submitting to those rules in order to better themselves and their progeny, right? They're a little more mellow, and that's totally fine. I think these days a lot of people talk about alpha males, and if you've ever been around a real alpha male, like, it is a thing, and it's actually very beautiful to be around, in my opinion. And I've remarked on this in the chat, how most of us will never, I don't think any of us probably, will ever experience what it really feels like to have a leader, a real leader, like someone you're almost spiritually bonded with, that you will do anything for, because, he's the chieftain or the Führer or whatever you want to call him, right? Having a real leader. Like, we'll never feel that, and I think that's a real shame, but it is a real concept. It's not, and yeah, all guys are a little bit alpha, you want to be head of your little group or something, but ultimately, even the most alphas themselves want an alpha, right? A leader. And that's, not only is that not a bad thing or something to look down on, if you've ever experienced it, it's actually a very beautiful thing, even if you're not the alpha, so to speak, right? So, what makes democracy in the modern world so appalling, in my mind, is that not only does it eliminate the idea, even the potentiality, that different groups of people have different common goods, it's that all human beings, regardless of race, of gender, of mentality, of anything, they all have a single common good that is encompassed by democracy. And that is so sickening and appalling and crippling and deleterious to society that it's one of the primary reasons that I'm so anti-democratic. And even as a child, I felt this. Like, I'd look around at people around me, I'm like, oh, well, they're not like me. Like, they may look like me, they may act like me, but I can tell that what I want is not what they want. So there's got to be some differentiation in terms of the common good. Sorry if I'm huffing and puffing. I'm walking up a big hill here. And, yeah. All the traditional European forms of government acknowledge this to some degree. National Socialism, specifically as it was actuated by Hitler and Himmler and the Nazis, I think did the best and the most compassionate, I guess, enactment of that. That there will be, inevitably, a smaller group of men with a drive towards something that is not shared by, or is shared in a different genus than the vast majority of people. And that this may correlate and it may resemble what women want and what, non-whites want. It's never going to be the same. And there has to be legally articulated, and in some cases legally protected and legally privileged ways that all the different common goods can be evinced in society. And without that, you're just everyone's gonna be unhappy except for the lowest common denominator, like the lesbian female Jew, right? Like that parasite I posted in the chat. Like, they're the beneficiaries of democracy, not anything good or worthwhile. So, those are my thoughts for this tea time. I'll leave it with that. And Marcus, I'm out.
Thank you, Marcus. Outstanding, amazing content. Now back to the studio in the mobile doomsday studio. We can continue. So I was trying to remember earlier what it was I was going to talk about, and I just finally remembered it, man. I don't take notes. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But no, I remembered what I was going to talk about, and it was hazing. And some dudes had mentioned it in the chat, and the hazing thing, man. It's something else, dude. And so the idea of hazing, man, is, in a way, I really support an aspect of it insofar as I think there has to be, like, reasonably there should be, like, a before and after, like a something that's difficult to do, like a something that signifies that you have accomplished, that you are part of an in-group, that you have achieved, and there's like a kind of a barrier to entry, that these people are not in the club and you are in the club. And sometimes that stings a little bit. But I also know that it's got to be regimented. It's got to be monitored. And I'll tell you, man, I have seen some rough shit. Like, I got some fucking hectic ass hazing, but the shit I got was nowhere near as bad as some of the shit that I saw other dudes get. So kind of the way that I'll tell you this, I've seen it done properly and I've seen it done way fucked upedly. And I will tell you, like, a fucked up fuck you hazing is not, it's not very cool, I don't think. That somebody is putting in time and effort to try to be part of an organization, and if you're going to be kind of a dick, and like they're in a way submitting to you, like submitting to the group. That like, I'll take your fucking beating, I'll take getting fucked with. I'm trying to be part of this group. If you're going to offer just treating somebody like shit without giving some kind of corrective influence in terms of like, look, well, here's where you fucked up, all right? Here's what you need to do. That's just fucked up, and you should take a fucking beating on your own. And like I said, I've seen it both ways, where like when I just got in, this dude, like there were fucked up people running around, like real fucking assholes, and there was a dude that was like a very, very senior dude, like a guy that should be past that, you know, big dicking phase. And it kind of comes in phases where you're like, when you're young, like you're in your fucking prime and you're pissing fucking vinegar and like you're ready to fuck up everybody, including your friends. And these are dudes that have to be watched where hazing is concerned. Older dudes should be the guys that are like the voice of reason, like, okay, you're going to beat on this guy. What are you going to tell him to do different? Or like, you're going to fucking give this guy a thumping, kind of a welcome aboard thing. Now, what are you going to do that's cool? You're going to have beers together? What are you going to do? Because we're not just beating on people around here. This is what should happen, right? So my very first day when I showed up, not for training, when I had finished training and like, all right, you're in the club, come on, and now you show up. And this motherfucker, like, old dude is like, you got your fucking check-in sheet and you're going around, you got to go to all these departments, get like the little intro, all right, here's your shit, you know, or what, you know, you come here, you do this shit, never do that shit, whatever, you know. Get your email address, whatever. And this fucking guy, this old dude is like, oh, you knew, huh? I said, well, yeah, no shit, dude. I'm in my fucking dress uniform here. I got my check-in sheet. Like, what do you fucking think? Yeah, I'm new, dipshit. So he's like, yeah, you knew, huh? Let me see this. Oh, you ain't even got shit signed off yet. And I said, yeah, I'm looking for whatever, you know, whatever the fuck department. He's like, what am I, your fucking tour guide? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you know, you are just the epitome of a fucking new guy. And I was like, okay. And just hands me my sheet back and walks off. And I'm like, God damn, man. Like, I guess it's going to be that kind of party, right? So, to me, that was like, you know, it's kind of like, this is how it's going to be. But, you know, in fairness, this is probably how this guy got treated. And what I mean by that is, like, when you start dishing out hazings, when you start dishing out, like, not so much the welcome aboard, but more as like these beatdowns, dude. Like, this shit can go fucking sideways. And the way that this happens, man, it's kind of this this fucked up natural selection thing where there's going to be a bunch of guys, like, because this shit can happen more than once. Like, this ain't limited to like, all right, here's your beating. You're in with the boys now. You got the paperwork, but now you're in with the boys. It usually ain't just once. Like, you might catch this once or twice. Sometimes it can be because you're fucked up. Sometimes it can be like, all right, let's get this over with. And, you know, like, all right, good job, you're in. But sometimes there's motherfuckers that, like, they want to fuck around. And what I mean is, like, sometimes a guy gets some fucked up shit happens to him. And guys will want to do, like, different things. Like, they've all got, like, their little trick, like their little hazing trick. And a guy will do a lot of times, like, if he can have this shit in his pocket too, like, I'm saving this for somebody. They'll want to do like the most fucked up shit that happened to them. They're going to want to do that to somebody else. So now they go and they fucking do this. But now what you're doing is you do this to this guy. Now he's got this list of shit that happened to him. And then when he goes and does it to somebody, he's going to do the most fucked up thing that happened to him. And that guy that he does it to, that guy's got a list of shit that happened. He's going to do the most fucked up thing that happened to him. So you got like this bracket of most fucked up shit. So, you know, by the time it's 3 or 4 guys down the line, it's like the most fucked up thing of the most fucked up things of the most fucked up things. And so down the line someplace, there's some guy that is just getting a whole string of absolutely horrible shit done to him that ain't real fucking cool. A lot of, like, every time I saw... every time it ever happened to me or happened to anybody that I was part of, there was always a safety observer. Like one dude is designated as like the voice of reason, and it's going to be like you're the safety observer. And you just sit there and you fucking watch. And if somebody's getting in their fucking feelings, like this happened to me and I'm going to fuck you up. And like, okay, hey, reel it in a little bit. And you listen to the fucking safety observer. Because if you're going to be a fucking asshole, then, you know, the next time it can be you. And you really, like, it's a fucking thing that'll stick with you with your reputation. That, like, if you're a guy that got hazed as, you know, a guy that's been around, like you got a pump under your belt and now you had to get tuned up because you're getting fucking nutty with the fucking hazing, then, you know, that's going to stick with you. Like something's wrong with this fucking guy. But other times, though, like the shit would get out of hand and like this shit didn't happen to me. But some of the highlights, some of the shit that I had heard of that was really pretty fucked up was there's one called the Dick Noose, where dudes would take an ammo can and then like tie a paracord around a dude's cock and balls, and like tie the other end of this to this ammo can, and it'd have this paracord running up and over something like a door or a tree branch or whatever. And every time you fucking say something that pisses off the boys, like they're going to ask you questions, how to do this, how to do that, how do you break down this weapon, that weapon, what's the fucking, you know, what's the whatever, do you rate a fire for this weapon, whatever. You piss them off, they're going to throw something in that can. So pretty soon you got this fucking weighted fucking thing attached to your cock and balls. And like, you know, I imagine that shit probably fucking hurt. There was some other crazy shit like, dude, what? Well, the happy hat, this was kind of a normal thing where dudes will like take a roll of like duct tape and like wrap it around your head fucking sideways, but then like over top ways do it where there's a little slack at the top and it forms like a handle. And now it's just a way to fuck with a guy. Like you got a hold of his fucking head and like it works like a handle. So you can like, you having a good time? Yes. Are you happy? Yes. You happy to be here, new guy? Yes. So it's just something to fuck with somebody. Now, like, you leave them stuck with this fucking happy hat, and they got to get this shit out of their hair and all this. What else? The waffle iron was, like, this one, this is where, like, it starts to get a little bit on the fucked up side. So, like, the waffle iron was a deal where you take, like, a tennis racket or a racquetball racket, and you put it over a dude's, stomach, and you take one of them big wire-ass brushes, and, like, so now it leaves, like, this grid mark on his fucking stomach. So it looks like a waffle, right? And it's going to stay there for a good few days. It's pretty fucking rough. What, man? Some of the others, like the pink belly, just smacking the shit out of a dude's abs, so he like gets all fucking red and splotchy and shit. Fuck, dude. The ones with like promotion and that, like different services have different shit where you get. I think Marine Corps does this thing where like when you become a lance corporal, they beat the shit out of your legs because you get that red stripe on your fucking pants now. You get punched in the arm, this kind of shit, different qualifications. You go around with the pins out of it and let people fucking punch it into your chest, or like jump wings. This was a fucking thing. Dude, one thing, fucking jump wings, man, this was fucking comedy, and I heard about it after I got mine, and it was so fucking cool. I wish I had done it. I wish I would have thought of it, but these dudes went and got like paid these fucking like cheap broke ass hookers to show up at graduation and pin on their fucking jump wings. And you'd see dudes like, oh, my grandfather jumped into fucking Normandy and I'm having him pin on my jump wings. And like, good job, shithead. The world's safe for usury once again. Nice work. But these guys, they got these broke ass hookers to pin this shit on. I thought that was pretty fucking hilarious. And I didn't think of it, or I would have fucked you. That would have been really fucking cool. You could get pictures of that shit. You can pass that shit down to your grandkids. But anyway, I digress. So some of the really fucked up ones, man, there was one called the Black Sack. And it's even more fucked up than the Dick Noose. There's one called the Black Sack that happened to a dude that I worked with. And The deal was that like pin on rank, you know, like rank that you would have to pin on to like your collars, to like, hi, I'm Sergeant whoever the fuck, whatever. Like through the years, the shit has changed a few different times, from like shit that you would pin on to shit that you would sew on or whatever. But when it was pin on, the deal was that you would have to go and buy this shit called MNU. I don't know why the fuck it's called that. It's fucking bizarre. But anyway, it's this shit that you use to like blacken your pin on rank. And what dudes would do is, like, somebody got this great idea, because it comes in a little bottle with like a little brush. And they were doing this shit where like they get a guy all taped up and then paint his fucking balls with this shit. I don't know fucking why. I don't know what's funny about that. But they're going to do this to this guy, but what happened was somebody had got at his balls before that with fucking Icy Hot. So they put Icy Hot on this guy's balls and then gave him the black sack. And apparently what happened was like this MNU shit, the black shit, like sealed up the fucking skin, right? So all that Icy Hot shit was like trapped like between his balls and this black coating shit. So it fucked him up real bad. And like this guy couldn't work for like a couple weeks because he's fucked up. He can't even fucking move because his balls are all fucked up. So that drew some fucking attention that like, listen, shitheads, you're fucking people up. Enough with this shit. All right. So that was, it started to draw that shit down a little bit. I saw one when I had already retired and I went back as an instructor and I was out on this training trip, and dudes had new guys doing like there are some weird traditions, you know, like where you could take a mop and like, that's a wig now, haha, and now go out here and like do a little dance, you silly fuck, you know, or do a little show, do a little vaudeville show or some shit. The shit could be funny, all right, but then it's like, and as you probably noticed with some of this shit, it starts to cross the line into a little bit gay. Like some of this shit becomes like, no, like this is actual sexual assault, dude. Like some shit where like, you know, the black sack, or this other deal, Juanita's titty, where you could fucking drink as much of a thing of hot sauce as you can in one go, and then the rest is getting dumped into your ass. I'm like, that's fucked up, dude. Like what the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, dude, it's fucking cool. I'm like, no, dude, that's fucking, one, gay, very fucking gay, and two, actually fucking sexual assault. You can't be doing this shit. This is fucking retarded. What the fuck is wrong with you? But this is in some cases, and not, honestly, I don't think this kind of shit goes on so much now. I think before, like especially before 9/11, when it was like if you were just a hard ass, you could get through the training, but your chances of ever actually getting shot at were pretty much slim and none. So it could be just like a big dick scene, you know, like I'm a cool hard ass motherfucker, check me out. But later when it became like, this is no joke, dude, and if you fucking dump hot sauce in that guy's ass, there's an above average chance that you catch a fucking bullet in the back of the head. So maybe think twice. So that shit definitely kind of changed. But still, there was times where I saw like some shit that, like the fashion show thing with the mop thing, like, okay, it was funny, and then the dude gets out a hose and he's got like this weird fucking, what do you fucking call that shit? Furry fucking wolf head on, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And you can do this shit when you're an old guy. You can be like, hey, dipshit. Like, you can go to, even, you know, you're old and broke and busted up, but there's still some fucking respect because you're the fucking old man at the fucking thing. And even, you know, some young dude that's got, you know, a little time under his belt, you can still tune motherfuckers up. And like, hey, dipshit, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck's on your head? You going to try to suck somebody off with that fucking thing? No, I'm not going to. Straighten your fucking self out, you know? But there was some shit that you see like this where you're like, this is not funny, haha. This is not welcome aboard type shit. This is like, either you're going to go back and beat off with this shit, or you're trying to get some kind of comeuppance for some shit that happened to you. So that kind of shit, like with hazing, there's a place for it and there's a way it should be done. And I, you know, in a lot of ways, I very much agree with like a before and after, a rite of passage. But there's also very much a way that the shit can get out of hand and become extremely, extremely gay if you're not careful with this, and if nobody's there to like be the voice of reason. So with that said, in the sense of unreasonableness, I had this great fucking idea where I saw that I guess these Greta Thunberg or whatever the fuck that alcohol fetal syndrome baby's name is, with this freedom flotilla going to fucking Gaza, I guess these Jews rolled them up in international waters. And apparently there were a few American citizens on there. So, like, my first thought was, like, one, you knew what they were going to fucking do, what you want anyway. But two, if we're going by letter of the law here, you can't be snatching people up in international waters. This is illegal. This is piracy. That's piracy, sir. You'll swing. So, I don't know. I just had this fucking idea, though, that there's enough motherfuckers in this country, enough 2A motherfuckers, and enough vets, and enough the shit talkers, that why do we not get together, do like a fucking Facebook page, pass the fucking hat, charter a fucking plane, get as much load out as you can carry, get enough fucking MREs and water and what the fuck ever to last you for a couple of weeks, palletize that shit, get on there, fly over to like Yemen, and then start organizing, or organize before you get there, because Christ only knows how it would go trying to organize anything from Yemen. But getting over there, and then we can talk about, like, let's roll up on our, greatest ally. My only fuzzy spot from there was, like, how would you get there? Because Jordan would be a pain in the ass. They're not going to let you do shit. Lebanon, maybe, but it might be a pain in the ass getting on the ground and then moving through southern Lebanon to, like, I got to go through a war zone to go and create a war zone. That's another pain in the ass. So I don't know if there's like a flying low, hop and pop at 3,000 type option. I'm not sure what, how low do you got to be for radar to not pick you up? That would be interesting to find out. Otherwise, if you could sort out some kind of a different flotilla, like an armed flotilla, and I'm not telling you where it is, right? It's just moving from Yemen to over there. Would it be possible to roll up like, yeah, we're just going to fucking invade Israel, dude? I think that would be the shit. And then it's like, well, yeah, but I can't afford that. Dude, you can just keep whatever you fucking take. It's like Viking style, dude. We're going to roll in. I'm taking your shit. And in the event that there's non-combatant casualties, well, dude, my understanding is Israel is just fine with that. Those are the rules they play by. So, okay, I'm good with it. Anyway, I mean, I imagine that there's enough cats out there that maybe somebody that's on the up and up with like, yeah, dude, I know from radar, we just have to do this, this, and this. Or I know from, fucking boating and international law or what the fuck ever, and we could just do this, this, and this. That would be the shit. But, I don't know. I think one way to approach it, I might try to do this, is I'd have to stand up a Facebook account. But standing that shit up, then do like one of these member type groups, which I also don't know how to do, but how hard could it be, right? But do one of these fucking groups like they did with, guys talking about they wanted to invade Area 51. And, I remember that thing, man. It was a few years back where they're talking like, yeah, dude, we're going to do fucking Naruto run, and we're going to invade Area 51, and all these people are signed up, like 1 million fucking people. I'll do it, I wonder how many people would sign up for something like this. Like, yeah, dude, we could fucking do this. I have to wonder, like, would the U.S. government actively try to stop you? Could they try to stop you? Like, dude, we're doing something that's not any of your goddamn business. We're going to get on here, fly to fucking Yemen, set up shop, and launch this fucking thing. And, yeah, we expect to be fucking encountered. But I also know that these Jews can't fight for shit, so it might be a pretty good fucking time. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that's certainly a far cry from like, yeah, I'm just going to put on a Democrat hat and run for office. But that went to shit pretty quick, dude. So maybe this is a better option. Maybe a much cooler option. If nothing else, a way more entertaining option. So, I don't know, just an idea, man. Just throwing it out there. I'm just talking here. Just some guys talking. But in any case, if you want to dig this shit, man, you can find this podcast at all the usual outlets, your Apple, your Spotify, still on YouTube, some kind of how, some kind of way. If you want to dig it at the source, straight from the tap, you can check it out at t.me/theabusehour on Telegram. And until we talk next time, you keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your neck out of the noose. I have been Coffee. These are my takes.